our babbling today, because there's a few people who've messaged to say they can't make the call, and it will save us doing it twice. But yeah, welcome to everyone. Should we do some intros? So Leela, do you want to get cracking?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'd really love to know where everyone's patching in from, and I guess it might be a few too many people on this session, but I'm Leela Schanker, and I'm a lighting designer based in New York. I am working for BR+A's Borealis Lighting Studio, so that's in-house to a engineering firm, and I have my own non-profit called the Flint Collective NYC. Really great to see you all.
Over to you, Dan.
Yeah, hi, I'm Daniel Blaker. I'm a creative director at Nolte Lighting in London, the UK, also offices elsewhere, such as Dubai, and sort of formed part of the initial group that sort of thought that things need to change and collaborate with each other to make the world a better place here at the GreenLight Alliance. But more importantly, I think who we are and where we work from. Where we work is sort of almost a by the by with this, because it's really about us coming together collectively, not really about where we come from. But yeah, that's me. Great.
And I'm Emilio. I'm based over in Sweden. I'm a lighting designer, co-founder of a little firm called Strom, and also involved in the GreenLight Alliance. We've got Elaine also with us today, and Sophie and Anna I can see listening in, and probably a few others, Simon Fisher. Hey, it's a growing group, and really appreciate you all coming and listening in, and hopefully expanding the group, because we're at the stage now where there's been about 10 or 12 of us involved regularly for a while. And we've reached out, and we've got a good number of subscriptions. And we, hopefully with a bit of explanation today, you'll see sort of the next steps that we want to take. So Dan, would you like to explain a little bit more about our principles?
Yeah, as mentioned really a second ago, who we are, we're a group of like-minded thinkers from different backgrounds, manufacturers, suppliers, designers, as myself and others, Emilio and Sophie, are sort of stood around and knew that there was a lot happening in terms of sort of global consciousness with sustainability in the bigger picture, and didn't really know how best to sort of make things holistically better, because there were so many different factors that fed into it. So we reached out to a few different people. As mentioned, there was from various different backgrounds of the sector, and found that there were a few different other people out there that felt the same way from each corner of our discipline. And we thought that we'd sort of collectively come together and try and pull things together and sort of look at the picture as a whole. As Amelia says, we're sort of still quite small. The idea is really that we grow organically, and this turns into something that's more than the sum of its parts, more than a few people or a couple of key people. It's about all of us. And moving forward with that, the only real way that we can get any traction is to make it something that's international. It's not something that should be centric to London or the UK. It needs to be something that has the biggest footprint it can in order to really take hold. It also shouldn't be something that feels too authoritarian. It should be quite a relaxed, personable and informal forum where people feel they can share knowledge and speak quite freely and quite openly. So in order to keep it energized, I think the danger is that sometimes with topics like this, they can sort of become quite stale and stated. And I think we need to keep it quite loose and energized to move it forward all the time. And I think it's constantly got to explore new ways of evolving and enhancing itself and developing. It can't just be like, okay, this is what we're going to do, this is the way to fix it. It's something that's always got to keep observing, keep seeing new fields and avenues that it can walk down, and then hopefully that can yield a greater impact and a greater result. And with that community aspect to it, it's important that we always remain positive and helpful. Every idea has a value and a weight to it, and as such, the forum, that's sort of the community that's being proposed, that we're looking to construct, it should be something that everyone has platform to speak out and be heard. And so that's really how we look to our visions.
We've had quite a lot of sort of guidance as well from the Women in Lighting movement, I think, in that sense, because they remain sort of positive. It's a similar platform in that it's a lighting platform, but it's not primarily about lighting. It's about sustainability and it's about the circular economy.
Okay. Okay.
So we'll just move on to the sort of the next sort of 4 key aspects of the project, really. So, you know, the reasons that we kept coming back to when we as a group initially started talking and started going through things, and really we all know that, you know, that waste is growing at an exponential rate. The sort of terminology and the use of recycling and sustainability, very broad terms, and there's a bit of greenwashing out there that we need to be careful of, and some of it's not deliberate, but it is nonetheless, it's sort of, you know, a sustainable angle on a product that, or a project that maybe doesn't have the bigger picture in mind. And we've got this big change to the specification system. We're going to go circular that's needed, and that's going to be complicated, and people are going to need support and help with that. And there's already 2 or 3 smaller initiatives within Skinflint, within Stone and FMark that are kind of companies that are hopefully pairing up with other organizations to look at this possibility of you know, regenerating products or getting stuff back out into the market without just flooding it with new products all the time. And as Dan mentioned, a lot of people are involved in this. Everyone on this call is involved in this or interested in it, and this hopefully gives us a chance to collaborate. Leela, do you want to take this one?
Yeah, sure. So, you know, it's really exciting to see so many familiar faces on this call, and can definitely say to Emilio and Dan's earlier points that this is growing, and there are a lot of different things that we can do as allies or contributing members, which I think Emilio is going to go through a little bit more as well. But a few of the things that have already happened and a few things that will happen in the immediate future are that we've obviously been getting a lot of interest from people from a lot of parts of the world, and either to the email or LinkedIn or Instagram. So as people join, we want to be able to also find a way for people to connect more easily. And there's a monthly onboarding session that can happen. You know, a lot of people wanted to patch in, but might have to do it at another time, and we're recording the session too. But for today, obviously, we're introducing a few more people to the background of where we're at, and sharing a little bit more about the subgroups that people can get more involved with. There is a pledge that's already been drafted that we would really like to start getting some traction on people signing up. So we'll touch on that. And then also just, you know, seeing who we are so that we can find each other more easily and continue this conversation. So sharing our bios, you may have seen that, as, you know, Emilio was suggesting with the Women in Lighting group. That's been really effective. And then what we really want is the substantive content, the learning. So actually having everyone share what they are doing on their sustainability policies, you know, there are a lot of pledges and letters being written as we speak, not just to lighting, but also as part of other fields of construction that people are signing up to, either as individuals or as their firms. And so we want to hear about that. And then similarly, research that's going on, and we will be having interesting thinkers presenting their work regularly that you can find out about through the GLA too, and then that will continue. So as you start to get a more visible community, we can have these bios up on the website and keep sharing interesting articles and work that people are doing so that everyone else can find it more easily than going to all these other platforms, though we also can cross-promote with other platforms that are similarly minded. And, the GreenLight Alliance will keep sharing these ideas with newsletters and on our platforms. So make sure you keep an eye on them. There's already been a lot of great dialogue on LinkedIn and other threads, so that's really exciting to see. And then, of course, as we start to actually upload more of this content on the website, I'm sure that will lead to other forms of collaboration as well at an industry level, and also, at a maybe smaller scale level where particular companies are collaborating with particular designers or so forth.
Yeah, I think that's that kind of cross-sharing of other initiatives is really important, and that's something that we're going to be quite big on. If we look at some of our existing either allies or contributing members, we'll talk a bit about what they are, and organisations that we've had discussions with where they've contributed to an article that we've written. This is, probably not absolutely everybody, but this is a lot of the different organisations that we've been involved with and having discussions with, and some governing bodies, engineering firms, manufacturers, developers, and it's getting to the point now where there's, and we'll see on the next slide, there's lots of different discussions happening, and we will need to add some structure to that, which is where we're bringing more people on board, hopefully in some of the people on this call today and others. But we need to be a bit structured about how we do it so that we can actually be effective, as Elaine was saying, about putting people in touch with each other and what they're interested in. So we can actually publish some meaningful content and help people with their research or their kind of needs, whether you're a manufacturer that needs some guidance on how to improve their sort of sustainable approach to manufacture, or whether you're doing research on different metrics for how we measure the impact of different materials. So different ways that you can follow, and after this call today, you might decide one of these is for you, but you can just be a sort of an ally where you follow. Essentially, it's a bit more passive. Hopefully you can vote on some of the different polls that we'll be coming up with, and support through educating and sharing circular design principles. Whereas a contributing member would be submitting a bio so we understand a bit more about you and so that people can find you and the relevance. Maybe you've got some specific skills or been involved in some, in a project or activity that's relevant. Assist with supporting some of the initiatives, share any of your research. There'll be opportunities as well if you've done something you want to talk about and we've got 300 plus subscribers, then there's a platform there for you to kind of share that and to get feedback on it, which is something we're keen to help support. And yeah, just providing support, educating yourself, and hopefully widening the network in turn, so it becomes a sort of a broader base, if you like. So just to give an example of some of the discussions that have been going on, and some of you in the US, hopefully you will recognize some, and some in Europe might not. But we've been lobbying. We've got some contacts at Well and hopefully BRE as well, and we're pushing. And this is an ongoing thing, and this is something we'll need help with, is to push for some circular economy recognition within the credits for BREEAM and Well and LEED, so that it's not all about new, more efficient lighting all the time. That there's some recognition or some allowance for that angle. We've got connections with academic institutions, which I think is important, and industry associations. So we're getting the inside line on things, and circular economy task groups, and legislation changes that again we can help share that information. Helping review different assessment methods that we've come across, cradle to cradle, lighting for good, and SLL3 that we're writing some articles on at the moment in Arc magazine. We've been speaking to different architects and asking about their net zero strategies and how, you know, eventually architects and developers, their strategies are going to filter down to us as designers and manufacturers and suppliers of lighting. And so we need to be sort of up to speed as to what their approach is. As you know, it could be that it's a sort of subscription model for lighting rather than, you know, encouraging developers to buy their products, and that's going to affect how we specify things. Leela, you've been involved in the Athena Sustainable Materials Institute, is that?
Yep. You know, really exciting work happening there, more related directly to embodied carbon work, which I know several of you on the call will be familiar with. So really working to get a standard product category ruling sorted so that we can then move forward more smoothly on individual environmental product declarations and an industry EPD as well. It's really exciting.
And those EPDs, there's, you know, companies like Dialux are really interested in maybe including that within their software and perhaps their outputs. And you know, we've had discussions with them. There's a specification program called Luminaire Broker, which is also looking at how it's going to address circularity and sustainability within their specifications, so that there's something hard in our specs that, you know, that has to be matched if something's going to be value engineered. Conversations with contractors, you know, is really important. They're the guys and the people that are, you know, installing lights, ripping them out of buildings, and moving product around. And we're going to get around these logistics. Then they're absolutely key to it. And if anyone's got any contacts there, then you know, we'd be happy to include those, you know, them in this conversation. This is quite a new topic for us. In the UK, we've got producer compliance schemes, which are responsible for end-of-life, safe disposal of electrical goods or WEEE products, not just lighting. And we visited a compliance scheme recycling site to try and understand what their challenges are with modern products versus, you know, conventional ones when they get to that stage. And then perhaps that can somehow feed back into the chain, so that where we can't be circular and we have to actually recycle, at least there's been some consideration about how that's best done. We also have some thought pieces and findings, and we've got a regular slot in Arc magazine. And again, we've probably got the next few months are sort of scheduled in already, but if there's a good topic and it's relevant or it's time sensitive, then we can take that on board and see if we can you know, squeeze a specific topic in. You might have seen on our sort of website, LinkedIn, that we're in discussion with Earthly. A few of the allies or members of the GLA use Earthly to sort of, you know, they don't like to use the term offset too much, but it's a sort of natural subscription to ways to combat your sort of carbon footprint. And there's a possibility of building our own community. So if you're an individual or a smaller business, or you know, you don't want to just go it alone, there's a sort of community there, so you can see the impact on a slightly bigger scale. We've spoken with Zaga; they're interested to be involved, and in a way, also other OEM manufacturers, Ducato, they want to, you know, they've been very enthusiastic about this, but we haven't quite got to a stage yet where there's a specific topic of discussion that involves them. So, you know, hopefully with your input and your ideas, that can change. And as Leela mentioned, the sustainability statements, you know, we've been asking manufacturers for these for you know, since we started the last few months, and we've got probably a dozen or so different approaches, and everybody approaches it differently. Some have really detailed product declarations, some have a 1 or 2 page statement, others have got third-party environmental assessment that kind of proves that there are, you know, that they're green energy, that they deal with their wastewater correctly, or they use world-class sort of standards for manufacture. And they have within those an environmental credit. So there's lots of different ways that manufacturers are trying to be conscientious. But we're trying to kind of digest all of that and see which of those we're actually really interested in as designers when we're specifying light fixtures. And then other people to collaborate with. Sustainable light design are a multifaceted. They sort of fix in the same way that we do on sustainability, but they're also focused about wellness and the use of natural light. So they've got 3 sort of pillars as a business, and there's Architects Aware, I think, Leela, as well, which is they're sort of structured. That's where we got the idea of the work groups from. They're structured in a similar way to us in that they're voluntary. They try and keep their funding removed from the supply chain immediately around them because it keeps them independent, and that's something we're quite keen to do as well. And then lastly, again, this is quite a new one. We've got some contacts at Savills and British Land, who are quite big developers over here in the UK, and and also agents for developers. And again, it's finding out what their circular economy approach is and what their strategies are for everyone's target for net zero carbon in either 2030 or 2050, depending on who you are. How are they going to get there, and how is that going to impact us as designers? And then there's a whole host of other topics we haven't even started on yet. So you can really see how this needs a bit of structure, and all these conversations happening in parallel. So the different groups we've established are, this isn't in any kind of hierarchy, but it's designers. It's more like the flow through the project. Manufacturers, installation, maintenance and upgrade, owners and vigilance. So that's maybe your sort of site owner and facilities manager, and then legislation and standards, which we thought needed its own separate arm because it's it kind of does affect everything, but it does stand out by itself. And then obviously research, which encompasses a lot of this, and we're not purely focused on research at the GLA, but it is really important, I think, to providing evidence to all of these things. And you can see how, as somebody that might join and you might be interested in manufacture or installation or standards or research, but you're going to have to work across different groups, and we're going to have to be quite organized and reach out to the right people. So we'll need people to help sort of direct people within these groups, and that's the stage we're getting to now, where we're looking for people to join in, to sort of volunteer and help, and add a bit of structure to this so that we can be effective at what we're doing and not a bottleneck, which I think would be the danger if we grow any more without sort of adding this structure. And then last bit from me, been talking for a bit. We've recently just been looking at a timeline of what we might achieve and what we have done already. So we've had this sort of regular series of articles which inspired us to look at the different sustainability accreditations that are out there at the moment and to write about those. You can see links to those on the website. Leela has a regular slot at Design Lighting magazine over in the US, and I think it's important that we focus on both and grow into other markets as well if people are interested, and that's why we're opening it up. We've launched our initial website, which is growing quite organically, as Dan said. We're talking or being represented at different webinars, education, Women in Lighting, Women Supportive, CIVC webinars, and we are at this stage. We're applying for some funding to cover the cost of the site and some administration costs, which is ongoing at the moment. And hopefully by the end of this year, there will be a checklist of some description, or an initial one in the UK, and maybe that can also, be extended to the US. But it's going to be released, but it was going to also need updating quite quickly. And this is something we want to be part of the discussion with to help out. We want to develop our communication websites, communication platform, using the bios and putting people in touch with each other. And this carries on, and it gets a lot looser as it goes on here. These ones in red haven't been started yet, but they're ideas. And this is quite loose, and again, it's quite organic. Dan, do you want to take this slide?
Sorry, hi guys. Yeah, this slide really is a similar sort of timeline, taking us a little bit, backwards and showing where we're going to go forward still. But as mentioned, that certain talks have been held already by both Mark Ridlow and Emilio and Roger Sexton from now Mike Stone Lighting. So formally, really, it's more introducing the subject matter, similarly to how we're discussing it now, and identifying the sort of salient points of the the big issue out there in terms of circular economy and its importance. But presently now, we're sort of midway through this timeline, just approaching June, where we're taking part of this onboarding call to, I guess, round off a little bit, a little bit more detailed exactly what we're sort of here for and what we're looking to achieve moving forward. Hopefully, with amassing more support and more contributing people, we can sort of evolve slightly further. Roger Sexton's got another one of his talks coming up, as well as a CIBSE seminar on the topic. And so all these things, these elements, hopefully will gain in momentum and gain in frequency, and it will become something that sort of just slips more regularly into everyday discussion. And sort of moving forward, I think that one of the key aspirations Amelia touched upon is producing this checklist that I think will help to provide best practice for everyone, so that sort of can become a template for common practice. Presently, what we have at our disposal in terms of tools is we have a number of online forums and social media platforms. So we have our website. On the website, and we have a lot of important topics or discussions that or websites or talks that we've seen that we upload onto the gallery page. We also have on the website some case studies that help to exemplify some of these, some of these topics in a more rounded off working practice kind of way. All these elements are supported by social media to make sure that people can be kept abreast of what's happening as much as possible and can comment and join in. So it's very open. We're looking to also have a clubhouse sort of platform where people can drop in and sort of almost eavesdrop in on conversations and debates that we can have running as required, and whenever we feel there's a topic that should be discussed, almost like a round table. I think you can chip in and chime in and get involved if you sort of put your hand up and someone calls you in, but it's effectively like a sort of a podcast that you can listen into. And as mentioned earlier, with the onboarding sessions, some of these the contributing the people that sort of want to get more involved in a little bit more detail, they can provide their bios, what the sustainability credentials are, or thoughts, and then that can help to build a portfolio of like-minded people, or who's best to go to in order to have these discussions and engage on certain topics. So it's really about enlightenment and trying to bring together all these different facets of the same topic effectively that are happening, discussions that are happening disparately all over the place. We're looking to create one place where we can sort of try and make it so that we can have those conversations in one room, and for the most part, people can start having those conversations with each other. And if we can join all the dots together, then hopefully it'll become something that's much more clearly defined and pulling in the same direction, rather than sometimes at the moment pulling in different directions.
Yeah. And with the case studies, I think are so key to this, because they give people like a digestible, relatable way of achieving, circular economy or circular design within a project. And even if it's, circular-ish, it's better than nothing at all. And these are just on merit. And if anyone on this call's got a product that they know of, a contact, a project they've been involved in, where those principles are somehow at the core of the project, and there's perhaps please have a look at the website, click through them afterwards, and if there's any like a document that's, again, not a sort of Bible, but something that's digestible that people can get through, then let us know and we'll put it on here. So as Dan said, so it's not disparate, it's all kind of in one place. That'd be great. Okay, so Leela, do you want to take this one? Hot seat.
Yeah, so, we've mentioned the checklist. Where are we headed with all of this work? And that is, I think the beginnings of the group was really to try and create visibility so that we can have a more consistent approach as an industry to this endeavour of all of ours, and well-intentioned efforts going on in many different places. But how do we synthesize things also for the benefit of designers and manufacturers, that we're being efficient with our own energy as well? So that's something that we're trying to come closer to, and engaging in the wider community, within the industry, but also more broadly as to how we fit into the construction picture and the wider global picture of how we're contributing to these progressive moves. And then similarly, getting the expertise and enabling people to find out from each other what's working well, and also maybe where there are hurdles, things that are difficult to wade through. I know that we've been having some really interesting conversations about EPDs and the struggles there are to follow through, and ironing those out. And then, regularly pointing to people doing interesting work and progress being made. So writing, speaking, sharing, and then similarly increasing how we actually apply what we learn in design projects. So, we're very much in this process of stock taking and researching and measuring and valuing at the moment. But then the ultimate goal really is to put it into practice and make design decisions, design of products and design in space.
And so I think the challenge there, I think, as well, is that there's such a broad range of understanding of the topic and willingness as well, and some, there's a lot of low-hanging fruit in terms of sharing these principles, and some really basic reduction of waste, for example, within packaging, which a lot of people have taken to really kind of high level, and other suppliers perhaps are sort of lagging behind, and it's a really easy win for them. So we need to be a bit patient in that sense, but also don't be afraid to sort of drill down into detail, and don't think if you've got a really specific comment, please feel free to sort of share that. We have to be able to keep, we were sort of saying earlier, we have to be able to keep going from sort of macro to micro on discussions and topics in order to have that success, I think.
Yeah, and I think it's an interesting phase we're in, where we're kind of defining and educating what these principles mean. But there's also, at the same time, and I think we're moving more into this discussions about the business case for how we implement what we learn, and how we, apply certain frameworks, and why we would or wouldn't, but also looking a few years down the track, what does this look like? Which standards bodies are we going to have potentially, or how much is this actually going to cost, and how many products and how many iterations of families need to be registered? What makes the most sense? And I think with so many good brains on this, we'll come to a really sensible and impactful outcome.
Yeah, I just want to jump in, because it is, it is worth sort of reiterating that, the more we sort of started to unpick this sort of mess, the chaos that is trying to find out the best way forward, in order to minimize carbon footprint and impact, the more we found out it's a huge can of worms, and there is no one fix. In everything, every door you open, you find another one beyond that. As Amelia says, you get more and more micro. So there isn't one direct path. There isn't one linear path. It's more like sort of like a pebble on a beach. It's a slow erosion, to smooth it down from every single side, and it will take time. But I think the point really of this forum is not really to have a manifesto that is quite rigid. It's to keep it quite open, and you can have a topic being discussed quite openly, which is about embodied sort of carbon footprint, embodied energy of certain products being manufactured. And on the other side, you can have a discussion going on about, something more lighthearted, like, novel ideas like bioleaching. We're using microorganisms to sort of break down precious metals from electronic waste products. So there can be sort of a very varied series of discussions happening simultaneously. Some are slightly more pragmatic, and some are, can be more entertaining, I guess, in many ways, and quite high level. But I think they all have a value. And it's just sort of creating that space where we can all, just throw things in. And, I'm not sure if the sort of spitball ideas to make sure that,
And I think we're open to ideas on how that's done as well. It's probably evident that we're all on a sort of Google call where, anyone can chime in. This isn't a webinar or anything like that. That we're happy to try different things. We're happy to keep it sort of free flow and experimental, and maybe one medium works better than another for some people, and don't feel like you have to use a specific sort of type of forum if you're not comfortable with it. The last thing here is just operationally, one of the reasons we're looking to get some funding is so that we can have a bit of structure, and eventually, the sort of founding members, if you like, can rotate out, and it can become owned by the people that are interested. Like, it will stick around as an organisation for as long as people want it to and need it, or they feel there's a need for the education. And we're not overly precious about that. And the more you want to get involved, then as far as we're concerned, the better. It's not hierarchical in that sense. So, it's been so great, speaking to Leela and Elaine, and they've kind of just got more and more involved as it's gone on, and been through interest and through sharing with everyone what they've been reading up to and researching into. And that's great, but we can't sort of keep. We need to add this structure now, and with the structure and with the even things like the website and Instagram and LinkedIn. If people think that's their area of expertise and that's something that they can help with, even if it's just managing that or sharing that, then again there's an opening there as well. So lastly, this is our sort of next steps really. So hopefully you've got a bit more of a picture about the discussions we've been having as a group, what we've been looking into between the sort of 10 to 15 people that have been involved since the start in varying degrees. We'll probably, we'll send the pledge out probably early next week for you to have a read through to sign it. The sort of signing of the pledge isn't going to be something that we hold you to in any sort of aggressive way, but it's more to kind of show that people are keen and on board and sharing those values. And if it's a company you work for, it doesn't have to be them signing it. It can just be you personally. If you want to send a bio through, then we can we'll send you the template for that as well when we follow up after this. And if you've got any content, especially the case studies, anything like that, then please send these to info@greenlightalliance.com. We'll filter through them. Again, that would be something we need help with eventually, and then we can start to form these groups. So I think that takes us to the end of it, guys. I can see we've got about 30 odd people on the call, and that's a really good turnout, but it makes it difficult to have a discussion. So I'm going to propose that we follow up with the email, and if you've got a specific question or something that you saw today that you would like just to reach out to one of us to and get a sort of an answer from, a direct answer, again, ping it to info@. You can either send it to myself, Emilio, Leela, or Dan, or Sophie, because she's here as well, and we'll get back to you. We'll put it to the team, our next meeting will be later in June as a group, and yeah, we'd love to have people on board. Has anyone else got anything they want to add?
I just want to say thank you for your time, guys. It's a pleasure meeting you all, and thanks for showing an interest.
Yeah, I'd say the same. I know that we've had so many, really interesting conversations and getting to meet people who are doing amazing things all over the world. And in some ways, sometimes I feel some of the conversations are people coming forward saying, what do we do? And seeking an answer of us. And I would actually say that all of you on this call are leaders of this, actually, and all the work and solutions that you're trying to figure out and move forward are the leadership on this. So it's no more us than you guys, and that's really exciting. Great.
Well, let's call it a day there, and we'll be in touch again. Thanks so much for joining today. It was a really positive uptake, and I think we can get some really interesting discussions out of this, and hopefully some more structure. And again, if anyone's got any expertise in any particular field to do with the organisation of it, then let us know.
Yeah, or if there's an interesting study or an article that you're aware of online at the moment, or that you've read recently, then send it over to us as well. It doesn't have to be a question you send over in the sort of info at GreenLight. You send over a topic you think is interesting that you see, and we can repost that on our website and the social media forums and just share it with the wider community and hopefully expand.
Fantastic. Right, let's call it a day. I'll stop sharing, and we'll catch up with you guys soon. Goodbye, everyone.
Thanks,
Goodbye.
guys.
Thanks for your time, guys. Bye-bye. Have a nice
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hey, thank you. Yeah.
Thanks.
Bye.
See you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.